All right, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to today's webinar, 9 time-saving ways to communicate with job applicants. This webinar, our presenter, Valarie Eden, will share tips to help you provide an optimal candidate experience so you can protect your employer brand, increase your talent pipeline, attract highly qualified candidates, and save a little time while you're at it. So before we get started, I just want to launch a quick poll. There we go, it's up now. How often do you respond to everyone who applies for a position at your company? It can be a little challenging, especially now with so many applicants, but just want to kind of get a gauge of the room. And we'll just keep this open for another, I'm gonna say 20 seconds. Everyone is pretty high bar. So, All right, and then I'll just end the poll and share it with you guys. So it looks like a lot of people said always, several people said most of the time, and some folks said sometimes and never, which completely makes sense because, again, responding to people all the time is really kind of a tough ask. But today our presenter, Valarie Eden, is going to give you some tips to help you get an almost always response, or at least close to it. Valarie is the Director of Customer Success here at iHire. She used to be a recruiter, actually, and she's been in the customer experience and product worlds for nearly 10 years. Her goal is connecting with iHire customers on their job search and posting needs. She's passionate about solving problems and collaborating with multiple teams. And through Valarie's pursuit of empathy and understanding in software design and user experience, she came to understand that the customer is the single most valuable asset of an organization. So just want to quickly welcome Val. I'm really excited for your presentation today. And Val, take it away.
All right. Thanks, Jason. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm really excited about this topic. Speaking about the communication between an employer and a candidate and job applicant is the heart of this interview process. So very important topic. Honored to be here. Let's just jump right in discussing when we should communicate with applicants. So in the very beginning of the process, when you're posting that job ad, that's the very first time that your job applicants are getting to know you and your company. So it's just really important to consider that first touch as your first connection point. And then we'll talk a little bit about how to leverage that job ad as your first point of communication. So in the job ad, it will be really important to, of course, describe the job very well, all of the attributes and all of the desirable parts of that job and why somebody would want to work there. It's also really important to leverage these job ads to share your corporate values and explain the management and expectations, who will be their manager, what hours would they be expected to work, where will there be any travel involved in the job? Mention that work location. This is very big given our current times. If it's a remote job versus there is an actual physical location that they would be able to go to or required to go to. And you want to highlight the benefits of the company. So the benefits could be our standard health insurance, 401k, some of the things they often see, but you may have some benefits in there that are really highly valued and specific to your company. I love when I see companies that include a health and wellness fee, a reimbursement to maybe run a race and they'll pay for your race fees, or include a gym membership. Of course, there are some that are important for families, such as childcare, on-site or nearby, anything that really makes that your company culture important and the benefits that you like to give your associates is really important to mention in the ad. And that also goes back to the very first bullet point of sharing your corporate values. You're building your reputation and your impression from the very first time they see this job ad. So in building the relationship with your applicant to win that talent to join your company, you want to leverage all of the points that you can, starting with the job ad. Next, we'll talk about the response and how quickly you should respond. So we like to see our employers responding to the job seekers within 1 to 2 days. We recommend only using an auto reply if necessary. I know that when the auto reply was created in this fast, efficient way to acknowledge receipt of someone's application, it was like wildfire. This is a great way to acknowledge, so leaving the candidate not questioning if their application was received. But there's also a bit of a downside to that, which is taking the human out of the process. And although it saves time, when the auto reply is sent from an actual person, or you can tell that it's monitored by an actual person, even if the email address is different, it really matters to our candidates. So when we work with employers on the client relations side, our employers ask us, how can we stand out? How can we make a difference? This is one really important way. You also want to update your applicants regularly. So if you find a couple candidates that you really like, and then there's a couple others that you think are not a good fit and you would like to disqualify them, it's important to do that as soon as you know that that's your decision, regardless of where you are in the hiring process. These applicants are putting a lot of time and energy into applying and visualizing themselves at your company, and it's okay that they're not a good fit, but it is important to let them know. Also, letting them know if they're in among of your top candidates. In the current times, we see our applicants applying for not just one job, but multiple. So this means that our employers are trying to win that talent, of that qualified person. So the way that you can differentiate yourself is staying in touch real time and letting them know that their application is being progressed through. With multiple hands touching this application, from a recruiter to a hiring manager to maybe panel interview, we realize that that process can go on, and sometimes it's out of the recruiter's hands or the hiring manager's hands even. So that information channel is really important to stay on top of. And this will also save you time from candidates emailing you and calling you to check on it. If you're proactively sending a message at the time that works for you, um, it brings them peace of mind and also saves time for you responding. You want to let the candidates know that you value their time. Speaking back to about how much emotion and time goes into applying for jobs, it is really important that you're starting this relationship with potentially somebody that you'll be working with in the future, and you want to start off on a great foot. So we see a lot of great communication going to and from, and we feel like that's the best start to that relationship. Is notifying candidates where they are in in the process, what you need from them, and staying on top of that communication. All right, next let's talk about who should communicate with applicants. As I mentioned, there are a lot of different hiring practices that we see our employers have adopted. At iHire, we do phone screens, and then we do a first interview, and most often we do a second set of interviews that are panel interviews, where we allow the applicants to get to know representatives from our different departments, and also allow our current colleagues to get to know this prospect and see if they are a great culture fit, if their skills align for what they're looking for in a collaborator. So we do have a lot of hands that touch our applicant and resumes, but we often designate one person to be that point of contact. This avoids applicant confusion. It makes that personal connection, and it gives that person one person who will be the question answerer, the scheduler, the one who's managing the process. It's surprising from a job seeker's perspective how many different people in an organization could be reaching out to ask questions while they're interviewing. And this can sometimes bring a confusion or make them feel like the organization is not organized. So having that one point of contact is both time efficient and brings great clarity to the job seeker. And this ensures that positive candidate experience. Once again, this is when it's all starting to get that new associate off on the right foot. So every interaction matters. All right. And the next step we have is not using a do not reply email account. This can be pretty popular, I've seen. And although I can understand why maybe it wouldn't be my exact email address that I'm sending to and from to help protect my time, especially if I'm not a full time recruiter, I'm just filling in or wearing multiple hats. I've definitely been in that situation before. But you can set up an email box that might be human resources at ihire.com or applications at ihire.com. And as long as that inbox is actually manned by a real human, monitored, being able to respond back in a timely manner, that is acceptable. The difference about a do not reply is you're really sending that candidate a message that you're too busy to reply to them. So they're just going to have to take your automated response, or that you're not even manning that inbox and that they're not going to be able to get their questions to you. So that presentation and that impression is drastically different when they actually get to speak to someone and not have a do not reply response. At iHire, we call this the applicant black hole, where an application is submitted, a person is waiting to hear back. They get that auto response, maybe, or they might not get any response. And as they have progressed through the few days or weeks since their application, and the hiring manager has already selected someone else, that applicant never heard back about their application. Or maybe they got one response, but they haven't heard the final decision. Ending that communication loop with a thank you for applying, we have chose another candidate, or thank you for applying, we would like to consider you for a different position in the future. Whatever your message might be for that specific applicant, it is important to send and not leave them in the black hole. This is not only important for our reputation as a hiring company, but as a business. Many times, people that apply to our business are also our customers. So, if you're thinking about it from that enterprise wide omni channel reputation, it's really important to send that message of disqualification and keep them in the loop. All right. And the next thing we're going to talk about is that real accounts for real people. We really covered that one point of contact and who the email address should be. I see a lot of micro businesses and small businesses using iHire platform. And so we do understand that dynamic where you may not be that full-time recruiter, maybe you're even the president of the company who's looking for an executive admin. And we understand that, and you can't get bogged down in your own inbox because you have to carry the business at the same time. So once again, just submitting a certain email box that those applications can go to and people can have questions, and designating that person, a person in your company to answer that. Really important timing. You may lose a candidate if you don't make those decisions at the beginning of your hiring process. All right. Speaking about how we should communicate with our applicants, the first step I have is always being transparent. You want to update the candidates that are in the running, letting them know that they have every interview so far has been very successful, or you really appreciate their resume. If you're sending assessments, let them know how they did or where you are in your hiring process. So many variables can happen with getting approvals for your job, determining start date, how are you going to train this person. Applicants understand that. They just need to know the information timeline to help them make decisions and just give an awareness of where they stand. You want to contact those disqualified candidates as soon as possible. And general rule again, just don't leave anyone hanging. You want to take care of them out of the inbox, reduce that follow-up emails, and then reaffirming really between 1 and 2 days is the best time to get back to a candidate who is actively applying, or you've considered their resume for a job. I also want to make your email message as customized as possible. Now we have at iHire, we have a lot of great tools that make sending emails to batches of people very efficient. And I'll touch on that in just a second. But when our applicants are hearing from many employers, or people that are sourcing out their resume, they really want to understand which one is differentiated to really care about them. And with the mass amount of emails they're receiving, you really want to personalize that email to include their name, why you're interested in them, tell them that you're interested in specifically speaking with them about a role, and say why. So you can definitely get off on a better foot with these applicants and get them to respond to your email by differentiating all the way down from subject line to what specifically you're interested in talking about. And speaking about the tools that iHire has, we do have our templated tools where we have created a few templates for you. And then you can also create your own. And you can send these same touch base emails to your applicants with personalizing their name. So not the entire email needs to be dedicated to customize, but you can infuse a bit of standard messaging with a personalized touch. As you're communicating in the interview process, you want to let the candidates know what to expect. As a former recruiter, I made it a really important first conversation to let them know this is how this is going to go by step by step. So I explain the interview process. I provide them the instructions for that interview. If it's going to be a virtual interview, which all of ours have been recently, we make sure that they understand the platform that we're using for that interview. We give them the login, the passcode, we verify they have all the information so that the first interview or phone screen for them goes very well and smoothly. And we've done all our part to make sure they're prepared. Give them all the information that they need beforehand. If you would like them to have a copy of their resume in front, it's a courtesy to let them know that. If they're going to meet with anyone other than you want to definitely provide the names and titles of those people so they can understand the dynamic that they are entering and how they can best prepare to relate to that person. So just giving them all the tools that they need to be successful, and also explaining hypothetically, if you're going to start interviewing on May 1st, when do you expect that the interview process would be complete and the hiring would begin? Candidates often enter into different interview process that might be 1 week long and a very quick hire. Some processes go more than a month. So knowing that employers can vary and having that courtesy back to a job seeker is really important, and it just makes you shine as an employer. Next, we'll talk about that platform that I mentioned with our integrated messaging. So our platform, which I'll give you a visual in just a moment, helps you keep track of these conversations. You don't have to sort through Outlook, which is likely a mixed batch of messages, not just about your hiring process and communication with your applicants. You can create those custom templates, as I mentioned, and we have seen our employers who have already picked up on our messaging tool saving massive amounts of time every week with using these templates that they've created. They're already approved, maybe by their marketing team. They need to make sure that all of the language is okay to use, any of those process. They get it, they are comfortable with it, they save that template. And now, whether they're unlocking resumes to be able to show a letter of interest to these candidates, or whether they're just automatically responding to everyone who's applied, who's qualified with, please go take this assessment, or please tell me more. Whatever those templates are, you can create your own process and easily, with just a few clicks, click and send. And now you've saved time from drafting messages, sorting through Outlook, and we also have bulk invitations to apply. So if you receive a batch of applicants that have applied to one job, and you ultimately decided to not hire those applicants, but you put them in your pipeline for future jobs, you can select all of those people that you thought, I'm not going to hire them today, but I might in the future, excuse me, select them and then send them an invite to apply. It lands them directly on the job that you have open. They complete the application process. And what you've done there is now invite these people that you had previous interest in to now join that funnel. And you can see all of your applicants all together in one list and manage that workflow. Super convenient tool. We have other ways to save time as well, with disqualifying messages, which you can opt into. So anytime that you disqualify a message, iHire can send on your behalf that your company has decided to go in a different direction. Again, eliminating that black hole. That's something that you can opt into, or you don't need to send if you would rather send your own message. But altogether, our messaging tool has a lot of time saving tips and great courtesy to the job seeker. If you haven't used our messaging tool yet and you would like some more help on that, my client relations team would love to work with you. So when you log into the iHire platform and on your dashboard, at the bottom left, you'll see who your client relationship manager is, and just reach out. You can either schedule a call with them or call them directly. Both are available, and they would love to meet with you to talk about messaging. So if you have questions, we have a Q&A session here later, but you're welcome to use that account manager to get started with messaging. So here is a sample of what that messaging looks like. You can see here, these are the people that I have messaged recently on the left-hand side. It gives me the last time that we've touched base. Also, when an applicant responds back to you, it's going to come right here in a thread. So in addition to seeing it here, you'll still get it in your email box, whether that's Outlook or Yahoo or Gmail, whatever you use. It'll still go there, but we have just brought it into our system as well, so you have one place to go. You can log in and click this messaging bubble here, which takes you to your messaging center, and then your screen will show the same thing. As a recruiter, I can easily go person to person, sending the messages that I need to send to them or reading what they're replying back to me. And I can access all of my templates from this screen as well to send quick responses. The time savings that we see here, like I said, it has been significant amount of time saving, and a great way to keep track. So it no longer has to search through Outlook or, recall that last message that they sent you. Got it all organized here. You can do this with resumes that you've unlocked, and you can do this with applicants that have applied to any open jobs or previously open jobs. So you can keep your pipeline warm and nurture those leads. If you're just starting to consider candidates for a position that you're not ready to hire for, that's okay. That's a very common practice. And this is a great way to nurture that account, that person. And you can search easily here for your history of messages. And in each time that you select one of the candidates that you've been talking with, you can also just see your thread just with them in their activity tab, which also shows you any activity that your internal team has made notes on them or any messages that you've sent to and from. So a lot of great tools. Once again, I'm just going to invite you to contact your client relationship manager if you're not in touch. They would love to help you with this. And I'll look forward to any questions and answers you might have.
All right, Val, thanks a lot. Is it okay to say that I learned a couple things there?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Just before I wrap up here, just want to remind people, drop your questions in the Q&A below. So what do we learn? We learned that leveraging your job ads is a great way to save some time communicating with applicants, because you can front load a lot of the information about your company and put it all in your job ad. Also respond quickly, recommendation within 1 to 2 days. Designate one contact so that people aren't confused. They're getting lots of messages or maybe even missing messages that are coming to their inbox. Don't send do not reply emails. Again, there's the black hole effect. Send emails from real accounts. Be transparent. Avoid regular snail mail. This has actually happened to me before. I've gotten things in the mail from jobs that I applied to months ago that I forgot about actually. And then explain the interview process so that the candidate's prepared and ready to go and can be the strongest candidate possible once they are actually in the interview. And then use a job platform with messaging like what we have here at iHire, kind of keep everything organized, be able to send out those batch emails that Val was talking about. Yeah, okay, so let's jump into the Q&A. See what we have here. Just also want to point out on this screen that if you have any questions after the webinar, you can send them to Valarie at valarieeden@ihire.com.
Absolutely.
And let's see what we have here. First question, are there benefits for employers giving a 401k, for example, tax benefits?
Well, that's a great question. I'm not sure how to answer that one, but I think it's great if you have that benefit to surely list that. But I wouldn't be sure of the company's benefit.
Yeah, that's definitely a tough question.
Yeah.
Maybe send a follow-up email and
yeah
up there. Okay. question, is there a cost on the employer and applicant slide through iHire?
So the employer applicant messaging is included with your subscription. If you have, whether you have a resume search subscription or you're posting job ads or both, that messaging tool is included.
Great. What are the best strategies to create a job ad? The do's and the don'ts.
I love that question. Okay, so the do's, you want to keep it focused on the most important details being at the top. You also want to infuse that with the best parts of your company, the culture, and what you believe keeps you working at that company. You want to give the location, and if you have a salary range, that's always nice to have in there. That really helps candidates be able to apply to the right jobs that meet their expectations. And understand what it is that your company is in the market for.
Sounds good. Let's see. What should I do if I don't have time to reach out to every applicant? It is challenging.
It is a challenge. I really understand that problem. And I had that problem when I was a recruiter. I wish I had iHire tools back then. So what we do is definitely you have to, find your best method of organization. I really like the iHire tools. I help recruit for us internally, by the way, just because I like using our tools. And what I do is I make my time to go through, organize, find the candidates that I definitely think are going to progress through to be the top candidates, and find the ones that I feel like are not going to be a great fit. I weed the two of those out and put them into, the proper bucket. I respond to both with thank you, but not at this time, or I use the disqualify message, which really works well for me. And as far as for the candidates, of course, that are going to progress into the next stage, I make sure I'm always contacting them within 2 days, and I use our templates to do so.
Yeah, those are really helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Next question. How can I make sure my company's messages stand out from other companies?
Oh, great question. Well, I personally have one of the best marketing teams ever to help us with this type of topic. But where I have learned from watching Aaron and Jason is the subject line really matters. You want to be creative with your subject line, also personalize it, customize it. You really are trying to let this candidate know that you're interested in them. And as I mentioned before, they're receiving a lot of emails, and some of them are autoresponders, and it's a bit disheartening, honestly, for job seekers. So stand out to them, show them that you care. If you're very interested in that talent, you want to make sure your message is coming across demonstrating that. And I would say you can pull out some of their specific skills that made you email them in the first place and highlight those at the very top, letting them know that you are intentionally emailing them. And as far as subject line, again, I would try to make it personal and not just a standard thing. Like, I'm interested in talking to you. Maybe say why.
Yeah, definitely is good. Yeah, you're the candidate for us. Let's see. Can I create my own templates using iHire's messaging tool?
You can. We've started you off with a few that we think are great and popular, but you can definitely create your own templates. And we even have the ability to put the form fields in there that'll just populate that first name, last name, etc. So your core message could be created, and you could use those tags to just send out to bulk people and not have to personalize every single one. Or you can just create your template that you would send and personalize yourself each time. Either way.
Yeah. Another question here. When do you send a rejection letter? I guess at what stage in the process?
Great question. My personal philosophy is the moment that I understand that candidate is not going to progress, I let them know. And I say the moment, but it's usually the day of, because, you rally back through your list and you want to make sure you're touching base. So I don't wait until the job is closed. I don't wait until someone has definitely accepted. Even if that candidate is the runner up, I'm letting them know that we're still making that final decision. And then the moment that the finalist has accepted that position, I go back to the runner up and thank them for their time and let them know that we have chosen another candidate. Every day they are waiting every day matters.
Yeah, as soon as possible, for sure. It looks like that's all the questions that we have.
Great questions.
Again, folks, if you have questions after the webinar, something pops in your mind, send Valarie an email. Let's see. Yeah, and then let's see if we want to jump to the next slide here, Val.
Oh yeah, sure, no problem.
So I just want to let people know that next month we have something really cool happening. We're doing a webinar, Ensure Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion throughout the hiring process. It's a really important topic right now, and we hope that everyone can join us next month as well. Make sure to invite your colleagues, your friends, and thank you so much. Thank you, Val, for a great presentation today.
Thank you, Jason. It was my pleasure. Take care, everyone.
All right.